The Fender Telecaster is one of the most classic and iconic guitar designs of all time. Whether you're into jazz or metal or anything in between, a Tele will do it and do it well. I think every guitarist should have a Telecaster in their collection. But in saying that, there are many options of different Teles, right? We've got Squier, you've got Fender, even other companies that make T-style instruments. Between them all, there's probably hundreds of different Telecasters that you could buy. And obviously I can't demo and compare every single one under the sun. But what I can do is kind of shoot out and compare two of probably Fender's most popular Teles, I would say, right now on the market. One of them made in Mexico, one of them made in the States. Quite a bit of a price difference between the two. And I want to kind of put them head to head and see whether you should spend the money on the expensive one or whether you're all right to get the cheap one. Now, those two Teles are the Fender Player Series Telecaster, made in Mexico. Now, if you're in the US, these retail for about $7.99, and if you're in Australia, which is where I am, these retail for about $14.49. Comparing that to the American Professional 2 Telecaster, which is made in the US of A. In the States, it retails for about $1,600, and here in Australia, $3,099. You've got about $800 US between them, or about 1,500 Australian dollars between them. So, do you need to spend the money on the US one, or can you buy the Mexican one? Is there a difference? What are the differences? We're going to get into that today. I am going to show you obviously more sounds, more tone comparisons, side-by-side stuff later on in this video. Also going to talk about the feel of the instruments and some of the specs that differ between the two. So yeah, stick around. Okay, now obviously both of these guitars are Telecaster designs. They're both fairly similar in terms of specs. They both have 22 frets. They both have maple neck, 9.5-inch radius, 2 pickups with a 3-way selector, a master volume, master tone. They both have an older body, although I think you can get the American Pro 2 in a roasted pine. For the most part, they're the same guitar. There are a couple of key differences that I want to point out and quickly talk about. One of the biggest differences, I would say, are the pickups. While they're both Tele pickups, Telecaster single coils, the pickups in the Player Series are the Player Series Alnico 5 magnet Tele single coils, whereas the ones in the American Pro 2 are VMod 2 Telecaster pickups. Again, they're still Tele style single coil pickups, so even though they're different, they're both going for that Telecaster sound, right? Another thing I would say would be the bridge. So if we have a look at the bridge on this player, you'll see that it's a kind of a more of a modern 6-saddle kind of design thing, almost more like a Strat bridge in the way that the saddles are all, 6 individual saddles. You'll also notice that this kind of bridge plate doesn't stick up at all off the body. Classic original Tele designs have this ashtray thing that kind of sticks all the way up. Something to note on the American Pro 2 Tele is that we've kind of got this little half cut ashtray thing. So at the back here, it goes up, I don't know if you can see it, it goes up nice and high, but then it kind of cuts halfway down. So that's kind of giving that a little bit of that vintage kind of thing with a little bit more modern playability. You'll also notice that there are compensated brass saddles. So they're compensated for better intonation, but also a little bit more classic in design as well. The Player Tele is string through only in terms of putting the strings through the body when you put the strings on. This has the option to be string through and also top loaded if that is something that you're interested in. There is one extra feature on the American Pro 2 Tele, and that is this fancy little push. So I don't know if it's gonna focus. Come on, get my face, here we go. Okay, so on the tone pot there's a little push. So when you're in the middle position, when the push is down, it is standard, it's normal, same as the Player, same as pretty much any Tele. The pickups are in parallel, but when you hit this push, the pickups become in series. What you'll notice in the sound comparison that I do a little bit later is that it kind of fattens up a little bit. It kind of sounds more like a humbucker. It's an interesting tonal option to have, so that is available only on the American Pro 2 and not on the Player Tele. And one other thing to note is this little heel at the back here. So I'll try and show you that. You can see that it's kind of contoured instead of the classic Tele heel being kind of sharp and just kind of like a sharp edge. When you play up high, you can feel the difference. Instead of having this kind of sharp thing digging into the palm of your hand, it's more of this curved edge thing. It's still there, you can still feel the heel, but it is slightly more comfortable to play. So that is a slight benefit of the American Pro 2. Apart from that, there's more similarities than there are differences. And I think ultimately what matters is the feel and the tone. So yeah, it's also fun to do. Okay, that's enough. So unfortunately I can't let you feel the instruments over YouTube. That would be pretty sick, but I can't do that. So one thing that you can't experience for yourself unless you play these two instruments is how they differ in feel. They're both tellies. They both have that same body shape. They feel fairly similar. There's no contours going on sort of around the body like a Strat. It's just that slab kind of body. So they feel quite similar to play, to be completely honest with you. The neck is where they differ, I would say, in feel maybe the most. The American Pro 2 telly has like a deep C neck. And you can feel that it is a little bit deeper. There's a little bit more mass there. It's not chunky, no baseball bat neck or anything like that, but it is a little bit chunkier and a little bit more kind of in the palm of the hand than the modern C on the Player Telly. The frets, I believe, are medium jumbo on the Player guitar, whereas we've got some kind of vintage tall or something on the American Pro 2. Should have written this down. But yeah, I think the Player Telly does have slightly bigger frets. So if you like bigger frets, maybe that's the way to go. But honestly, the difference in feel is pretty negligible. I mean, there is a difference. They are different guitars, and every guitar, whether it was two players or two American Pros or two of the exact same, any other model, they are going to feel different because they are different instruments. But considering these two are made in different countries and the price point is quite varied, there's quite a bit between them, they both feel great. They both feel like tellies. They're both solid instruments. So in terms of feel, yes, you need to go and play them for yourself and really, really decide. But if you do like maybe a slightly thinner neck with bigger frets, I'd go the Player. And if you do like a bit more of a chunkiness in the neck and smaller frets, then maybe go for the American Pro 2. That's just feel though. And honestly, it is quite small, so I wouldn't really get hung up too much on whether this one feels great and that one doesn't. Honestly, they both feel really, really good. So which telly should you buy? You're in the market for a Telecaster. Which one should you pull the trigger on? Honestly, I would say for the majority of people, whatever fits your budget. Honestly, I know that seems like, oh, that's such a great answer, but honestly, in terms of tone, as you just heard, like if you played those tone samples to me without letting me know which guitar was which, I don't think I'd be able to guess them. I'd just be completely just guessing. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have an informed like, oh yeah, there's more top end or authenticity. Like, honestly, they both sound great. They both sound like tellies. They both feel like tellies. They're both great instruments. So I just think unless you really, can afford it, don't worry about getting the US one. Honestly, like it's cheaper, and I think that's because it's made in Mexico, not because it's made any worse or at any less quality. I think if you want some of those slightly more vintage and authentic appointments on the guitar and that chunkier neck and those kind of vintage tall frets, then maybe go for the American Pro. But if that stuff doesn't bother you and you just want a good solid telly that stays in tune, that sounds great, feels great, looks really good, looks authentic, man, save the money and get the Player. That's my honest opinion. Now, if you are someone who is a working professional or you have money to burn, you have the extra cash and you want to get the American Pro 2, that would be my pick. Okay, that would be my pick if they were the same price and only just by the slightest amount. Like I said, they feel really, really similar. There is just something slightly more, I don't know, there's just something slightly nicer about playing this one. That literally could just be my eyes telling me that, because it is the US one. But I've had these guitars here for about a week or so. I've been picking them up every day, and I've just noticed that probably 70% of the time I do reach for this one. Again, that could be because it is the US one, but I do feel like I just have kind of bonded with it and connected with it just slightly more. Not at all saying that the Player Tele isn't as good. And again, if you can't afford this one, don't stretch it and get this, because the difference is like absolutely tiny in my opinion. The difference is quite small. I don't think that the difference and the benefits and the extra quality, I guess, that this adds is actually worth the amount that, you know, that they differ in. So I don't think this is worth 1,500 Australian dollars more than that one. I think if there was 500 Australian dollars and maybe 200 US dollars, 300 US dollars between them, I think that's actually in value, sort of how much better this is than that. So I think this is slightly nicer, but that's only in feel, you know, and that's only in, you know, holding the instrument and playing it. It's really slight, man. It's really, really slight. I'm very, very stoked with how offshore, you know, factories, the quality that they're able to put into these guitars. Again, like I said earlier, it's not cheaper because it's made in Mexico. It's cheaper because they're able to make them cheaper and therefore sell them cheaper, in my opinion. I know people that have chosen the Mexican one over the US one and actually like it more. And I understand that, because it's an absolutely killer instrument. I guess all that I'm trying to say is the difference is really, really slight. And if stretching to get this one is sort of difficult, then don't do it. Absolutely do not do it, because you won't be let down by the Player Tele. It's an incredible Tele. It sounds great, it feels great, it looks great, it's awesome. But if you do have that extra cash, I mean, why not? Why not get the US one? I think ultimately they're both gonna do the job, and tone is the most important thing here. And as you heard, as I, with my ears, what I heard from that opening track and from those side-by-side comparisons is that, gosh, there's not much in it. There's really not much in it. Obviously, you need to make the decision for yourself. If you can play them, absolutely play them both. If you can't, watch some more videos about them and you know, try and make an informed decision. Again, if it's a stretch, friggin' get the Mexican one. It's fantastic. And even if it's not a stretch, the Mexican one might suit your needs more if you like certain appointments on it and whatever. All I'm trying to say is that they're both great, and you're not going to go wrong with any of these guitars. But that doesn't really matter what I think. I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comments section below which one you like the sound of more. Have you played both of these guitars, and do you feel like there's a massive difference or a small difference or no difference? I'm keen to hear your thoughts. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate it if you've made this far. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, because I'll be making some more videos very, very soon with gear related stuff. Check out my channel and all the stuff I've made in the past. Yeah, appreciate you coming along and hanging out, and I'll see you in the next one.